All right, y'all. Let's settle this once and for all. I'm gonna put a poll up here, so if you want to express your opinion, let it be known, this is your chance. Ulti or Black Maria. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the TOBI ROPPO who were properly introduced in One Piece chapter 978, introducing the TOBI ROPPO. So the TOBI ROPPO, the top dogs of the headliners, the people right below the calamities, the all-stars, the Flying Six, as translated to English. We were introduced to them, and let's talk a little bit about their name, the TOBI ROPPO, and where it originates from. So the TOBI ROPPO is actually a specific dance that comes from a kabuki play called kanjincho, which is translated to subscription list. So roppo, the latter half of the word, is like a dance, like a dramatic dance, a dramatic walk in which the performer moves their arms and legs in all 6 directions, north, south, east, west, and up and down. So TOBI ROPPO is a flying walk as translated. So it's a little weird. Flying Six is kind of translated differently because you're now talking about a dance being referred to as a name. But it's like even a step above, in which the performer not actually flying, but they're like hopping around in a way to give a little more extra bounce. I'm dancing like there's a beat to it, but that's pretty much how they're acting, right? So like Roppo is like a little swagger in their walk, a little bounce in their walk. TOBI ROPPO, this man is like really exaggerating his strut and he's really happy, right? Now this was really interesting to me because that really didn't have anything to do with the group of people it was representing. So if you look at like the all-stars, in Japanese is the okanban, which refers to somebody who is a top performer in theater, and then you have the headliners, which original word is shinuchi, which means a person with great skill or popularity in a Japanese solo performance. So it kind of all relates to what the word is representing of the people in the Beast Pirates. Even with Orochi's men, you have the Mimawari Gumi, who were inspired from the Kyoto Mimawari Gumi, which was a special police task force in the Edo period. And then with the Orochi Oniwabanshu is based on the Oniwaban, who were like an undercover group in the feudal era. So all these names that are taking inspirations, whether it's from kabuki plays or history, also kind of relates back to their actual name. But TOBI ROPPO is just a dance. So that got me really curious, and I did a little bit of research on what the actual dance signified in the play. So Kanjincho subscription list is the play itself. The story focuses in on 2 main characters, is Minamoto Yoshitsune and his retainer Benkei. So pretty much Yoshitsune is trying to get past this gate that is guarded, and they know he's coming. They know he's trying to get there under disguise. So they know he's on his way, but he tries to go in as a monk, right? But when they get there, they get stopped at the gate. So the guy watching over the gate, Togashi, stops them and say, "Hey, who are you guys? What is your purpose?" And Benkei, Minamoto Yoshitsune, who I'm gonna just call Yoshitsune from now on. Yoshitsune's retainer Benkei was previously a monk, so he was kind of experienced in this, and he was like, we're just trying to collect donations from the Todaiji in Nara, which interestingly enough, I also went to when I was in Japan. It's this huge temple with a gigantic Buddha. It's actually very breathtaking because of its sheer size. And if you don't know about Nara, it's the city where there's a bunch of deer just walking around freely. So definitely recommend you check both Nara out and that temple out if you're ever in Japan. But Benkei says he's collecting donations for that temple, and then Togashi says, well, if you're collecting donations, show me a list of your donators, which is the Kanjincho, the subscription list. And then in a famous moment in the play, Benkei doesn't actually have a list, but he takes out like a blank scroll and starts reading names in like a pretend way, right? And Togashi actually notices that it's an empty scroll, but he's like so amazed by his dedication. He's like, you know what, you could pass. However, one of the security guards notices Yoshitsume and is like, hey, you look a lot like Yoshitsume, I can't let you pass. And then Benkei comes to the rescue again, says Yoshitsune is his servant, and pretends that he is his like lowly servant. He starts beating him up and like treating him like he's nothing, and then even goes as far to say, hey, if you don't believe me, I will literally beat him to death right here, right now. And then Togashi, once again, is amazed by his dedication and loyalty. He's like, you know what, don't go that far, you could go on ahead. And then the final act, the like a grand finale exit, Benkei does the Tobi Roppo, where he's hopping around and pointing in all directions. There's this grand dance as a way to celebrate, to exclaim the joy of his master escaping this dangerous situation. So what does this all mean, and what does it have to do with the actual Tobi Roppo in One Piece? I don't have a damn clue. Listen, I'm not a theorist. I just noticed this as something interesting. So I'm just putting it out on the universe for all you theorists out there, people to discuss about it. I do think it's interesting that it's not like actually referring to like them related to them in a way. It's kind of just the six, right? That's the only relation. And like, I don't think that's the only reason Oda would pick that name for them. Maybe it has something to do with like loyalty, and like so far it doesn't seem like the Tobi Roppo are very loyal to Kaido, so maybe it's like they're loyal to somebody else and they're under disguise like Benkei was. You know, just something to think about, and I'm going to talk a little more about this later on when we're breaking down each member of the Tobi Roppo. So that's just a little bit of reference and history and something to think about in regards to the Tobi Roppo, but let's break them all down now. First off, we're going to start off, you guys know who I'm talking about. It's going to be Black Maria, okay? Black Maria, if I voted on that poll, it's going to be a Black Maria vote, okay? I've said this in my chapter review. I've raved about her on Twitter. Follow me, IamDKing4. Best design, in my opinion, besides post-time skip Robin. I'm going that far, all right? So number 2 already. People saying top 20? I'm saying top 2. I'm going that far, all right? So let's start off with a name, though. Black Maria, a British card game. I actually played this game over the summer because we were bored trying to figure out something to play, and we played so many different card games already. We were just kind of getting bored of it. So I was looking up games, and I found this one. And it's actually a really fun game. So if you're looking at something to do, if you have like 4 people, check this game out. I recommend you actually play it, and it's a really fun game. But that's who Black Maria is based off of, that card game. Let's talk about her design now. So her design, she's like a kind of this like sexy geisha. She's got this floral robe on, and like her shoulders a little revealing. She's got the classic Japanese bun with the hair things in there. I don't know, the hair sticks, the hair ties, I don't really know what to call them. And then along with them, she has like swords, right? And now with like any other human, it'd be probably like little daggers, but she's huge. Those are like probably katanas. Can you imagine she's got like Owazamono swords up in her hair? Like, it could be a funny moment later on when she's like fighting in the midst of battle, like one of the samurai, Zoro, or I could see like Kinemon doing this, going like he lost his swords or something. He goes up, jumps on her, and then grabs her swords, lights it on fire, burns her hair or something crazy like that. But like those are like probably actually katanas that she's just using as a hairpin. Pin, that's the word. It came to me. It came to me eventually. So she's got this like classic hairpin, the swords as well. And then she's got, of course, horns just like everybody else. Now, she's not like wearing a hat or anything, so it actually really looks like those horns are real, and which is completely possible. But at the same time, it could be like a hair band that she's wearing with like horns on it, and you just can't see it because of her hair. So we don't know if that's real or not. Hopefully that we'll get some clarification on that, along with the rest of the Tobi Roppo, on whether their horns are actually real. But yeah, Black Maria is like this super sexy, seductive girl, that the vibe that she's going with, smoking a pipe, she's got lipstick, she's got the nails, and of course, I know some of you might be saying it's crazy. I'm putting her top 2 already, and we don't even know what like her hair color is. But so far, every single drawing, every single color I've seen her as, she's looked great. So I don't understand what the argument there is. She's top 2. That's my opinion. All right? She's top 2. But anyways, her personality, her interactions, she's like this very mature, snaky, devilish kind of woman. Seductive as well. The way she talks to everybody. There's like little heart signs at the end of her dialogue. She calls Ulti Oli, page 1 Pepe, and Sweetie. So it's like very teasing, mature, kind of seductive kind of character, and I think a lot of people were drawn in towards that. As far as her interactions with everybody, she seems like kind of pretty comfortable with everybody, talking to everybody comfortably, and page 1 and Ulti she refers to as like the younger people, treating them as like younger siblings that she could like talk down upon. Maybe not in terms of strength, but at least in terms of speech, right? So but next I want to talk a little bit more about her potential devil fruit. Now, the Mr. One Piece God himself, Tekken 101, had the theory that the rest of the Tobi Roppo are all going to be ancient dinosaur zones. And for her, he guessed T-Rex because she's big and giant. Now, I actually don't want to see that because I don't want Black Maria to turn into this short-armed T-Rex when she fully transformed. I don't think that fits as well. Another theory that I side with, I think is more likely and would be better, is Roger's base. His guess is this giant ancient snake that she transforms into, and that I think is more fitting with her personality and design, and you know, that image where she has her tongue sticking out, it just fits very well with her vibe. One thing I did forget to mention is her size, right? So she's gigantic, and first impressions, a lot of people were saying she's a giant. Me too. Maybe even in my chapter review I said she's a giant. But upon further inspection, the scaling just doesn't match up as well. So like regular giants, at bare minimum, adult giants are 12 meters tall. Even if you look at somebody like Big Mom, who's huge, she's 8.8 meters tall. So that's another 2 So she's still another 2.2 meters off, right? So, and 2.2 meters is like super tall. That's probably like Shaq size, right? So it's like Big Mom plus Shaq is a short giant. That's the size of him. So if Black Maria was actually a giant size, I would think that scaling, like her shoulder width alone, would be bigger than the rest of the Tobi Roppo. Now, of course, scaling is one of the most inconsistent things with Oda. He kind of just draws them to like how he feels like it, and then reveals like the heights later in a Viver card, and it just doesn't make sense. So it could easily be a thing where he's just trying to fit them all into one image, and the scaling just doesn't make as much sense. But it is possible that she's just a giant human and not an actual giant. But if she is a giant, and again, I think I touched upon this in my chapter review, that would be 2 out of the 3 races that Kaido has that Big Mom doesn't have, right? So the King's race, and then the Giants race, and the third race, who knows? Maybe it's just Kaido's race. Maybe it's all 3 races that Big Mom doesn't have, Kaido has, and he's just flexing on her. And maybe that's why she gets pissed and then starts betraying him at the party. Who knows? But yeah, as far as design and Devil Fruit, that would be for Black Maria. For her power level, first of all, I want to say I think they're all pretty strong, right below commander level. And like, even though they're relatively even, I think there are little tiers to them, slight tiers, but I don't think it's a big gap where like the weakest one is just like way weaker than the top one. I think they're relatively equal. But Black Maria, I do think she's a more lower tier fighter for the Tobi Roppo, just because I get the vibe that Oda's gonna go with that she's just huge, relies on her size, and whatever her devil fruit is, of course she's going to be stronger. Giants in general, so far we've seen they are strong and mighty with their super strength, but you know, they're just haven't been the strongest. Even like Harudin was like this, not one of the strongest people in Dressrosa, and you know, Giants have been just power scaled down a little bit, maybe because that's Oda's waiting to give us the super strong Giants in Elbaf. But you know, Black Maria, I feel like lower tier. And as far as potential fights she will have in the upcoming war, Robin, of course, is the #1 option. Giganto Mano, Giganto Legs. They could duke it out giant style. The fight for who's the best girl in Wall of One Piece. That is possible. And then another possible option is Kiku. Now remember, Kiku's also tall. She's not giant tall, but she's like 9 feet tall, right? So she's a giant woman. I think that could be an interesting fight there as well. Now, of course, these could both happen. Wano is supposed to be a big war, and there's gonna be switching battles. I think of course. Enies Lobby, if you remember, like Sanji fought Khalifa first, and like they were flip flopping a lot too. I think that's gonna happen in the war as well. Marineford, another thing where people were fighting everybody, right? So I think it's possible both Kiku and Robin fight Black Maria. But next up, let's talk about another character, another fan favorite, Ulti. Her name is based off a Hungarian card game, which is so obscure that in the Wikipedia, it actually said it's virtually unknown outside of its home borders, which is it's a big claim to make. Like, if it has a Wikipedia page, that means like at least somebody knows it, right? Or else that was just like the people of Hungary made that page. But you know, it's not a very popular game, but now people are gonna know it because Oda somehow found it and named it one of its most greatly designed characters. The game's based off like auctioning and bidding in some way. So that's the game, and that's what her name is based off of. Her design is like this very cute, proper, bratty. It's kind of a mix, right? I don't know how to really describe it. She's got this like cute dress with like a bow tie on it, and then she has like a cape going through the back, so it's like a very princessy, and then she has like very mature heels, right? Remember when we kind of got shown the bottom, like just the feet of the Tobi Roppo in 977, we saw those heels. I was picturing like a very mature person, but Ulti is like a little girl. But she's got like her dress and everything that kind of fits to that personality, but she's also very elegant and does fit her personality as a whole, because remember her dialect, her speech, she was speaking very proper, like don't how can Queen ever treat us like this, and that beastly man, right? So like very proper. But then she like when she snaps, she becomes like this very bratty, like just doesn't care. All the honorifics just go out the window. She treats page one like her little brother, calls him Pei, or originally it's like Pei Tan, which is like a super childish way to like say Pei Chan. So it's like, it's a very immature, embarrassing way, at least for an adult, to call another adult, right? So that's the original translation, and how Pei came to be. Now she's also got the horns, and her mouth is also covered. Her horns, a lot of people notice, is very similar to Dillinger, one of the people from Doflamingo's crew. Dillinger was a hybrid fighting fishman. If you don't remember, those are like the bull fish with the horns, so it makes sense that's how the horns came to be. It is possible Ulti, it is very similar. Those horns do look very alike. But it'd be also kind of weird that now you possibly have two fishermen with Sasaki, who I'll talk about a little later, but that could be more fishmen on Kaido's crew. She also covering her mouth, so it's very possible she could reveal that, and it's a bunch of like shark teeth, right? Now, as far as her devil fruit, Mr. Tekken 101 went with Velociraptor as his option, which I could kind of see, right? This little dinosaur, but is still like vicious, right? So snappy. I think that could really work. I like that idea. As far as myself, at first I thought about like a piranha. For some reason that just came to mind. It's like a ancient piranha, like this, like just vicious, small little animal, right? Or fish. But then I thought it doesn't make any sense, because how is she going to transform into a fish on land? Maybe it's just a head, but that would probably look a little weird. Now, the next thing I thought of is possibly like a snapping turtle, because she's like very snappy, right? That's something I could see. It's like her just like, if you put your hand too close, boom, and she's like super quick and will snap at you, right? But the only ancient turtle I could find was like the Carbonebes, and it's just like this ancient big turtle. It wasn't really specifically a snapping turtle, but I could see that kind of design. Maybe a lizard or something is also possible. But those are like the devil fruit ideas. I think Velociraptor is a good call there by Mr. Tekken there. So that's very possible. I lean towards that as the top option for now. As far as power level and potential fights, I think Nami is the main matchup a lot of people are looking at, and I really don't see her fighting anybody else. It just makes sense for me. Nami, just like with a very bratty kid, it just works well. Like in Skypiea, where Nami was paired with Isa the whole time, and Isa's this like bratty little girl. I really like the dynamic and how Nami like kind of toned her down. And this would be a nice way to power boost Nami a lot, and finally giving her a good strong fight with somebody right below commander level. And you know, it's a way of Nami like really showcasing her skills. hand-to-hand combat, as I said in my Wano power-up video. So yeah, I think Nami is just a perfect fight. I don't really think anybody else could go up. Maybe Kiku, I guess, is an option because the female matchups, like Oda doesn't really go beyond girl on girl action. Okay, so Nami, possibly Kiku, and then her power level, I think she's probably mid-tier actually. I don't think she's lower tier by how snappy she is. I think she's got to be pretty strong. Now you may think her fighting Nami wouldn't make as much sense if she's like a stronger person. But Nami just like sometimes surprises you, right? Like remember Alabasta, she faced Mr. One's partner, Miss All Wednesday. That was just like out of nowhere. She's fighting a top tier person, whereas everybody else was like fighting according to like their strength level, where you have Sanji Mr. 2, Zoro Mr. 1, and Luffy of course fighting Crocodile, and then Nami was all of a sudden fighting Mr. 1's partner, and that was a surprise. But she's a very like smart fighter, sneaky, and against a bratty kid like Ulti, I think she could slip by and really showcase her intelligence, battle wits, and battle strength as well. Next up we have Pepe, page 1. Of course we've already been introduced to him. His name is based off a card game called Page 1, which is pretty much just Uno, but with a standard deck. So that's his reference for his name. His human design, he's dressed like an emo teenager, right? Like that's just completely his vibe. When we saw him in his dinosaur form, he had the Skrillex hair. He still got that hair, but now he's like super tiny. The way he was sitting too, he's like hugged up. He just seems like very antisocial. Just like, and he seems like he's the youngest as well. When Ulti is already referred to as Oli, as like a younger person, and she refers to Page 1 as like a younger Pepe, right? And Page 1 calls Ulti sis. Now that's the translation, but in the Japanese version, it's Aneki, which is like the female version of Aniki, which is what, if you remember Johnny and Yosaku, that's what they called Zoro. So it's not very clear if they're actually siblings, or he just looks up to her and respects her in this like bigger sister kind of role. And then for him, his horns are oddly 2 different colors, so it's possible they're not real or they're real and he's just like that. He's got this bucket hat on with also black and white, or white and a darker color. So, you know, that's his hat design. He's also got a mask. So, you know, something, his eyes, his facial design, he does have this very creepy, like evil anime eyes. He has that evil anime eyes, evil anime face going for him, and it just feels like when he takes that off, he has something really messed up underneath, almost like Katakuri in a way, but he has more like a demon vibe to him. Now of course his devil fruit is the Allosaurus, and then for his power level, I think with how much he was referred to as the youngest and how early on he was introduced, and his fight with Sanji and how he's pretty easily handled, although he did shove Sanji into like a bunch of buildings. I think he's lower tier. And as far as his battle matchups, I think could see a quick rematch with Sanji, where maybe this time Sanji utilizes all his strength and easily takes care of him. So that sets up Sanji for a fight with a commander like Queen. And then for actual battle, I see people like Usopp or Kinemon fighting him, or even Chopper. I think that would be very interesting, because if somebody like Luffy fought against him, he wouldn't think he's scary because he's a dinosaur or he's got the evil anime face. He would just say, hey, Checkers hat, get out of my way. I gotta go kick Kaido's ass. But if Usopp saw him, or Chopper, and they saw him and he's got the evil face going on, he turns into a big dinosaur, they're gonna be hella scared, right? So I think it'd be a fun dynamic, and it's just like the type of villain that Usopp and Chopper, it's kind of made for him. And I think Kinemon, another like gaggy character, a like funny character, could be set up for that kind of fight as well. Next up we have Who's Who. Yes, you heard it right. Who's Who is the name. That's his actual name. It's not like a code name like Akainu or Kiji. That's his actual name. It's based off the game Guess Who. Never in my wildest dreams would I think somebody would be named, the anime villain would be named off that game that everybody played in 3rd grade. Great game. Terrific game. But it's not really even a card game. It's kind of just like a board game. I'm very curious as why Oda decided to go with this for his name. Even if he did something like Monopoly, I feel like it would have been better. But this is very funny, I guess. It's made for a lot of like gaggy moments. But at the same time, his name might be in English. So like like Luffy wouldn't know English, right? He wouldn't know who's who, and he wouldn't start doing like an Abbott and Costello act just be based off that. But super interesting name. His design is dope. He's decked out in black. Got this fur thing on like Doflamingo had. Showing his chest off. Got a tattoo of an eye. I think it also says who's who there as well. Couldn't really see it clear. But Artur from Library O'Hara pointed out that there was a tattoo of his name. His legs are also abnormally large, like long. So maybe some long leg in him there. We don't know. And then for his horns, he has these like bull horns kind of coming through, and his mask and hat, which he has on. And we don't know if that's like part of his hat or coming through of his hat. Now this guy, who's who, funnily enough, has been theories galore with him. A lot of people has been guessing exactly who's who. Some people are calling him Jin, the long shot. Let's just toss that out of the way, guys. Jin is not making a comeback in Wano. Give it up. It's not happening. It's just, if you want to point out his lips, come on. There's so many people with similar lips. I think Jin is not an option. A likely option, though, is the Punk Hazard band that I mentioned in the theories about Kaido's son. It looks just like that. I think that's very likely that he was the guy from the underworld with the Dendemushi about to go talk to Jack. So I think that's very likely. The design looks extremely similar, but I don't think he's Kaido's son or anything like that. I think that just answers that question of who that guy is from Punk Hazard. And then the theory that came out of nowhere was by a Reddit user named T Codicy. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'll put it on the screen. But his theory is that who's who is actually Ushimaru Shimotsuki. Now, Ushimaru Shimotsuki was the daimyo of Ringo. Of course, he, like the other daimyo, rebelled against Kaido, were utterly defeated, and were supposedly killed. So the theory is he wasn't killed, and he was recruited by Kaido because, as we've seen, Kaido likes to try to recruit stronger people first before he takes them in. Like tried with Ashura Doji, and he actually took in like Hawkins. So it could be possible Ushimaru decided to, go under disguise, almost like that Benkei kind of vibe, where he's like under disguise for the sake of his master or the person he believed in with Odin. Could be that kind of vibe. He has a katana. I forgot to point that out, but he has a katana that he uses. So that it has like floral patterns on it. It kind of matches one of the kimonos he was wearing. And then Ushimaru also had a kimono that had bulls on it at one point, and this guy's horns are shaped like a bull. And then the handle for the katana is like similar to Emma and Amino Habakiri. So a lot of different signs there, but they're also very minor. So it is a long shot. I could see it kind of working out that way with how much betrayal and disguise has been a theme in Wano, but it also could be, it's so like minute details, it could be just nothing. And then as far as his devil fruits, Mr. Tekking said Stegosaurus just because how his mask is shaped. I don't think that's as likely. I like to see him be an ancient bull, which is like Aurochs was the one I found. This big, gigantic diesel bull is kind of fitting to his horns, and I like to see that. I think that's more of a likely option. And then power level, I think with him being the one that brought up like who would replace Queen as a calamity if he were to go down, I think he's a top tier person. And with him having a sword as well, and this being Wano, I think he's a top tier Tobi Roppo. And with his fights, I think he could fight Zoro for a little bit, but not as the main fight. Maybe Zoro overwhelms him a little bit before he moves on to King. I could also see him fighting pretty much a lot of the scabbards because he's a swordsman. Denjiro in particular is a likely option. And then for a Straw Hat matchup, it'd be cool to see him fight Brook, I think. Brook is a swordsman. I think those two clashing, it would really give Brook another boost, like a top tier Tobi Roppo person. And now Brook is able to handle him. Now you're putting Brook kind of almost at that supernova level with X Drake and everybody else. I think that with the way Oda's been building up Brook, I like to see Brook get more moments, especially in Wano, because he's a swordsman as well. Next up, we have X Drake. Of course, you guys already know X Drake. He's been a supernova. We've known for a long time. He doesn't have horns. He doesn't have a card game name. He does have X in his name, which is like kind of 10. It kind of fits in with the numbers a little bit, but you know, it's very obvious that he's not like the others, but you know, it's because we know who he is. That's the reason. Of course, just a little refresher on him. He's a sword member, a secret marine. He was involved in the Ape Ape no Mi transaction with Law because his dad, Diaz Barrel, was a pirate before he was like a marine and like a role model, and then he became a pirate and abusive. And then with that whole birdcage thing, Doflamingo set off. Drake was able to escape and then eventually became a marine. And then he went undercover as a pirate and became supernova. And then some point during the time skip, he joined Kaido and eventually rose to the rank of a TOBI ROPPO. Now for him, I don't think we're going to see some serious action because he has different motivations there. And I think he's just going to try his best to blend in before turning at the very last moment when Kaido's about to go down. So I think he will do some very light fighting, but also showcase his abilities a little bit before turning sides at the end. And in terms of possible fights, I think any of the scabbards would do, especially because, remember, he destroyed Amigasa Village, the place where Tama and Hitetsu were based off of, and where the scabbards and the samurai made their new base of operations there. He destroyed that place. Whether if he was undercover or not, he still messed that place up. So I think a scabbard fighting him, maybe like Ashura Doji or any of like Kanema, any of them fighting him makes a lot of sense. And I do think he is a top tier person. X Drake is a supernova. He's a person we know him for a long time. It doesn't make sense for him to be a mid or a low tier. I think he's still a top tier in the TOBI ROPPO. And then finally, we got our boy Sasaki. His name is based off of a Japanese card game, and his design, it looks like he's a fisherman, right? So he's got this sailor hat on with two horns coming from the front. They could be real as well, or it could be on the hat. We don't know. He's a bigger person. To me, he seems older as well, more mature. It seems like the way he interacts with everybody, he's like been around for a while. He's like comfortable with everybody. You know, he's also got a cape, and specifically what's giving him away of being a fisherman is the Gita sandals that like similar to how Jinbei wears and a lot of the fishermen wears. So maybe we'll see some fisherman karate from Sasaki as well. And then he's of course got the teeth. And for his devil fruit, Tekking said Triceratops. I could see it because of his horns. It's like very similar to a Triceratops horns. For me, I like to see possibly maybe a saber-toothed tiger could work because of his fangs and also his horns a little bit. And then I also thought of like maybe an ancient reptile. So the one I found was a Sarasuchus. This is a gigantic crocodile, alligator, whatever. I should know the difference between those, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, some ancient big crocodile makes a lot of sense too, and think that would be cool. So I think any of those options are pretty likely, or maybe not likely. We can't predict Oda, right? But I think I'm putting my bets on all of those, right? If I was betting, I would split my money into all three of those. And as far as his power level, I think he's mid-tier, mid to high tier, very close to there. I think because he's older, more mature, it feels like he's been around there the longest, but the other people have kind of like passed him a little bit kind of vibe. That's the vibe I get from him. And as far as fights, of course, Jinbei would be one, and then Kawamatsu will be another, fishman on fishman action, and then Frankie as a Straw Hat member, I think could be a cool fight as well. Both big people. Definitely a possible fight there as a way to scale Frankie up also to that close to supernova level. Of course, I mentioned in the chapter review where you have the Tobi Roppo where are like close to supernova level, and if the Straw Hats or the mid tier and low tier Straw Hats beat these guys, now you're also boosting them to that level. But that's gonna be it. Tell me what you guys thought about the Tobi Roppo. Who are your favorites? Is it Black Maria? And if not, why is it not Black Maria? But leave me in the comments below what you thought about them. As always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. It'll be very much appreciated. If you want to keep up to date with when I'm posting and everything, you got to subscribe. So please hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with everything. Hit that bell, all that. Follow me on Twitter. I am DBKing4. And thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace.